Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. You are watching Faghaline Talks. I'm Ata, the host of this program. During the holy month of Ramadan, we will tackle different topics related to the holy month of Ramadan, Islamic lifestyle, the Ahlul Bayt, and the Holy Quran. For today's episode, we have invited a special guest speaker, Sister Razieh Shameli. She wants to talk about an interesting topic that is loneliness, the malady of modern life, and the Islamic cure to it. We have this guest speaker live on Zoom tonight. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Welcome to the show. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this topic that a lot of myself are engaged with. And before anything else, I would also like to say Ramadan Kareem to everyone, all the participants who are watching our program or who are listening to us. And I hope that every single day of Ramadan that goes by, I think 11 days have already passed.
Yes.
1/3 of the month has already finished so quickly. And I hope that this prepares us all these days and moments and all these hunger and contemplation that inshallah we've had through this month would prepare us and would increase our capacity for all the blessings that we would receive on the night of Qadr, inshallah.
Inshallah. Sister Shamli, really an interesting topic, the loneliness, and especially, which is, I can call it spiritual sickness or ailment of the modern life, and how Islam approaches such a malady of modern life. First of all, define for us, what do you mean exactly by loneliness of modern people and modern life?
When you ask the question of what exactly is loneliness, you can look at it from like different perspectives. Um, like the issue of loneliness, Kay, I think was highlighted and got a lot of significance after after the issue after the phenomenon of modernization. I
Yes.
would go with my slides so that everyone else can follow me much better
Very
and they
good.
can read it and let even if they miss some words, they can still have the chance to um, get some glimpse of the writing so they can follow us easier. So, with modernization, well, prior to modernization, our lifestyles was like totally different than what we are experiencing in today's life. As you know, we are faced with the very fast pace of life. We have the issue of technology. We have the issue of urbanization, and also the shift in the paradigms of the society. What do I mean by these three concepts? For example, prior to industrialization and modernization, people lived in like under farms or the factories were non-existent. But after modernization, urban cities, big cities were created, and a lot of people in search of a good job shifted to bigger cities, right?
That's right.
So with these, of course, these offered very good economic opportunities and really good access to resources. But at the same time, living in cities where no one knows you, like in villages, almost all the people in the village, it's like an extended family. Everyone knows one another, right? But in big
Yes.
cities, you don't even know your next door neighbor. You don't even know, like even if you're living in the same in a big apartment in a big building, you don't
Mhm.
even know who is living just by your side, right? So all these, it gives a kind of impersonal nature of city life to you, and it gives us a sense of loneliness. The other issue that all
Yeah,
of us
even
are
sister, you
facing,
are closer to your neighbors in comparison to the past, isn't it?
in
I
what
mean, in the
sense?
past, yeah, I mean, in the past, the neighbors used to, for example, live in big houses with
Uh-huh.
yards, and yeah, the distance was more than today, who live in the blocks of apartments who are close to each other, wall to wall, isn't it?
The walls are very close, but
Yeah,
hearts
but
are
they're
far away.
far away. And you mean by loneliness this? That's right. Very good. Okay.
Exactly. So, like, Like I know a lot of people where you hardly have time to call your siblings or call your parents, let alone your
Yeah.
neighbors,
Okay.
right? So the other thing that a lot of us are, it's a tangible we're all experiencing is this technological advancement. Of course, this like just tonight's event is one of the positive sides to the technological advancement. I'm here in one village in Iran. You're here in another city in Iran. There is someone else in another part of the world. It brings there is connection. Like people can get a lot of information. They can have access to a lot of information, right? But
Very good. Very
and
good.
there is like easy communication in virtual communication. But at the same time, instead of face to face, like tangible skin to skin contact between people, everything has been replaced by a kind of, online. Everything on classes are online. You talk to your
Mhm.
siblings online. So this also creates a kind of loneliness. Any
Yes.
questions?
So, do you think that how much do you think as you said, the social media has aggravated the situation? I mean, interaction with the people and interacting with the people around, as you said, colleagues, friends, and their relatives, has given its place to the social media. Do you think that these social media that the people are using today is on the cell phones? On the social networks and the social media has aggravated the situation of the modern man to be more lonely than before or not?
Definitely. You know, you feel like if you're an influencer, everyone is watching you.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are communicating with you. They're direct messaging you. Your whole life is exposed to the whole world. But at the end of the day, there is no network of support. There is no support system. At the end of the day, you're alone. If you're sick, no one's going to come to help you. If you have a problem, no one is going to come to help you. So again, it creates more loneliness. And one aspect to this social media thing is that slices and portions of their life on the social media like Instagram, that is like it is true, but it's maybe like 20% of the reality of their lives. And it poses like a very fake picture of
Yes.
reality.
Yes.
Everyone thinks like, wow, she's so happy, he's so happy. She looks like so healthy. She's eating healthy food. She's living a
Mhm.
luxurious life. She's wearing beautiful clothes. So, when compare myself with this influencer on the social media on Instagram, I feel like, oh
Yes.
my God, I'm left out. I'm left out of this crowd, and my life is so different. So it means that I'm lonely. I'm not part of this group.
Mhm.
I'm not part of this crowd, right? So again,
Yes.
there's a feeling of alienation and loneliness.
That's all right. It very much recalls me of a footage I saw on this social media. The spouses who all of a sudden they were live on a social media, they laugh and they take a photo or a video. And when it was done, they both of them get back to their own cell phones. And I mean, the true sense of the loneliness aggravated by the social media could be seen in that footage. As you said, there is a fake lifestyle behind the scene of these social media. And according to the statistics, I mean, the most important consequence of loneliness nowadays in the world is depression, isn't it, sister?
That is absolutely true because your expectations of life is defined by the fake images that you're constantly watching online.
Very good.
You're constantly comparing yourself. And the criterion that the social media gives you is a totally unrealistic image or image of the reality. You think like everyone is so healthy, beautiful looking, happy, but inside in the back screen of their life, none of these is the reality of their life. And you compare yourself and you're like, I'm not like that. So you feel so much lower and naturally, consequently, you feel very depressed. And also, sometimes in certain countries, there is the issue of cyberbullying
Yes.
and online harassments, which also creates individual threats and harassments and loneliness at the same time. We shouldn't forget that as well.
That's right. Okay. Sister Shameli, most of the people in today's world follow a religion. I mean, whether it is a monotheistic religion or a non-monotheistic religion, at least they are believers of a religion. And they think that religion and religious teachings help them to solve their problems during their daily time, their lifestyle, for example, one of which is loneliness and depression. I mean, by clinging into the rope of religion, spirituality, spiritual growth, mysticism, and development, they can find themselves somehow linked to an almighty power which helps them not to be alone. How do you think religion of Islam and religious teachings of Islam can help us to overwhelm loneliness in the modern world?
That's a very good question. Before going to this question, there is one more aspect of modern life that I
Uh-huh.
also like to shed some light on, and then I will move to your question. And that is the fact that when I was talking about shifts in social structure in the old days, people were living in extended families. Like I remember my own grandparents. My two of my uncles were living in the very, like, I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago, in the very in the very beginning of their life. They were living with their parents. They had like a huge house with like 10 rooms, and each of my uncles had their own rooms, and everyone was living together, and like on a regular basis, of every single day, right? But now I haven't seen like my uncle for like a year. And this is the result of modernization, where I'm living in a different city. I have my nucleus family, where if at the best, I can see my even my parents, right?
Yes.
So, with regards to religion and how religion can help us with loneliness, well, up till now, we've talked about loneliness perspective of modernization, right?
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
has like a negative connotation to it, where you feel that like this life, which is actually defined based on materialism, and like your standards is based on the material level of your life, which is defined by wealth and social status, right?
Right.
So if you don't have these stuff, if you're not if you haven't lived up to these criterions, if you aren't educated, if you don't have a well-paid job, if you don't have a good luxurious place like how it's displayed on the social media, you feel really lonely, because this is how modernization has defined life for us. Life is nothing but luxury in this world. Happiness is nothing but how comfortable you're living in this world, right?
Okay.
But
Right.
religion, on the other side, besides all the religion, doesn't exclude happiness. Especially the religion of Islam is not a is not a is not a
Solitary
uh,
life. Solitary based life, you mean? Solitude
mystic.
based?
Exactly, it's not a
Okay.
mystic life where it live a single life, go live in the desert or go live in the mountains,
Uh-huh.
have a very poor life, just, have solitude. No, Islam tells us that you can have all the luxuries of life. You can actually, these are the adornments of life, to have like families and wealth and money and house. And actually a Muslim is supposed to have a good car. But back in the old days, they had like horses, and now they have, actually the standards of Islam doesn't say that you have to live a very
Uh-huh.
monotheistic, right,
Yes. Okay.
life. Positive aspect that religion looks upon is labeled as solitude,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And when you even people in the West, because of the malady of loneliness, the malady of the modern life, which is loneliness, I see a lot of people. Like I remember when I traveled to India a couple of years ago, there were a lot of people from the West who had traveled to India, and they were own, seeking solitude, sitting like in specific temples and having some contemplation,
Yes.
having some, individualistic moments to themselves. And, spirituality is the
Yes.
missing key in a lot of our lives.
Yes.
So if the intention and the purpose of this loneliness is, I mean, if you look at this loneliness from a different,
Yes.
to a positive kind of loneliness,
Mhm.
which can lead to self-discovery, right?
Yes.
Greater sense of your inner peace, and it can lead to
Mhm.
self-fulfillment. Now,
Yes.
how does the Quran look at loneliness? Well, um, it's very interesting that in religion, you have a life rich with social connections,
Yes.
right? And also moments in your life where there is only you alone.
Yes.
Like there should be a balance between the two. And I will, as I proceed through tonight, I will share more of what I mean by this. Let's look at the Quran, for example. When you look at chapter 7, verse number 142, I'm talking about instances of loneliness,
Very good.
purposeful loneliness in the Quran. You see the story of Prophet Moses, where for 40 nights Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invited him to seek solitude, right? And the verse
Yes.
read, and we appointed with Musa a time of 30 nights and completed them with 10 more. So the appointed time of his Lord was completed 40 nights. So this is one instance where the Prophet chose to go on a purposeful solitude
Yes.
for self-contemplation and for this special connection with
Mhm.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even we have our
Yes.
own prophet, Prophet
Yes.
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where prior to and even after that, he took special moments, just him, even the time that he was with his family, even when the time that he was married, this portion of his time with God was always included in his life, right?
Yes.
Or
So,
for
sister,
example, we have
sorry, sister Shameli, if I got you right, from one side, Islam very much emphasizes on not leading a solitary life without the interaction with the people around. It focuses and it emphasizes on keeping your interactions with the people around because the blessings of Allah are put in them. At the same time, Islam has arranged some time for solitude, which is defined in terms of spiritual development and Islamic development. Am I right?
it's totally right. This
Uh-huh.
it's like through these moments of contemplation and
Yes,
solitude, you are absorbing all that divine energy.
very
You
good.
are getting that intention that you need to lead the rest of your life with, right?
Mhm. Very
Um,
good.
I have other instances in the Quran, from the Quran, that they had purposeful solitude for, and sometimes this solitude is because you are emerged or immersed or surrounded by a corrupted environment,
Very
and
good.
you are forced to seek seclusion or loneliness. We have this in the case of the cave, right? Which
Yes.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, then take refuge in the cave, right?
Mhm.
Um, so these are historical accounts. You
Yes.
might say that, well, how does this relate to my life in the present time? In the chapter 17, verse number 79, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Prophet Muhammad, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً
Yes.
لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. Keep vigil for a part of the night as a supererogatory devotion for you. It may be that your Lord will raise you a
Yes.
praiseworthy
Mhm.
station. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites you to spend a portion of your day, which is which is specified to be at the time of the night,
Yes.
have some sort of solitude,
Mhm.
um, some sort of shift, because this
That's right.
world distracts your attention,
Yes.
distracts it engages you to
Mhm.
think about so many other things. So as part of the night, you stay awake to purify why
Yes.
you are created. What is your
Yes.
purpose in life, right?
Okay.
Um,
Sorry, Sister Shamali. How would this type of solitude, especially through Islamic teachings and all these religious formula, will help you in order to overwhelm your loneliness on the daily life? For example, during the night, you are, or as keeping vigil, or during your religious duties, you are connected with Almighty Allah or a superpower, Almighty God, okay? But
mhm.
during the day, how does this will help you psychologically speaking to overcome your loneliness? This is a major question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'd like to answer your question with a story of Lady Zainab and her father, Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Very good.
One day, Lady Zainab was sitting in her father's lap and playing with him, and she asked him, "Do you love God?" And the Imam replied, "Yes, of course I do. How is it possible not to love God?" And then she asked, "Then do you love us too, your children?" Imam replied, "How is it possible that I wouldn't love the children? They're they're the light of my eyes, they're the fruit of my eyes. How could I not love them?" Then Lady Zainab asked him, "How is it possible for two loves to
Mhm.
reside or to be in one heart?" And she said, "Okay, Daddy, let me answer this question to correct me to see if I'm right." And then she said, um, your perspective is that you only love God and everything related to God. So if you love us too, it's only because God commands you. So your purposeful solitudes throughout the day or throughout the night, how does this give direction to your life? Well, you see, I told you, I mentioned before that the material life, especially at the time that we are living in, that everything has its value in the, materialism and
Yes.
material benefits. Everything besides that, spirituality is almost looked over. It's like ignored
Mhm.
completely.
Very good.
So with these vigils, with these nightly vigils, you concentrate and you shift your attention on yourself and your journey, because
Uh-huh.
according to the Quran, we are born alone and we die alone,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And our life in this world is for a purpose. There's the principle of taskhir, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given all special potential, a special capacity, a special gift. One person becomes a butcher, one person becomes a baker, one person becomes a doctor, one person becomes a housewife, right? So we
Yes.
each have different energies and potentials, and we take each other into our services, right?
That's right.
But
Right.
in the midst of all these hustle and bustle, we shouldn't forget that why are we living in this world?
Mhm.
Where are we heading?
That's right.
Why
This
are,
very
why am
much
I?
Sister, I
Uh-huh.
think this very much depends on a look in life. I mean, this Tawhidi look that the Islamic scholars talk about, I mean, this monotheistic look that there is a God and all these creatures, we can say, were created by Him. And this, I mean, finding the true destination in life and the purpose in life, I think helps us very much to reconstruct our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the same time with the people around. Am I right?
Exactly. End of the day, we humans have two dimensions. We can become worse than animals,
Mhm.
and we can become God heavenly like, divine like. We can possess all the attributes and qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are
Very
here
good.
on a journey, and we are here alone on a journey of getting better. The idea of perfection is a little bit far from our minds, but we're here to become better people, become godly like, have his qualities,
Yes.
right? And these nightly vigils actually, like the batteries that our cell
Yes.
phones, that we charge them every night or every day, that we
Yes.
the electric charge that we give them, these nightly vigils or these some kind of solitudes are charging our spirits and our souls.
Very good.
As you said, with the monotheistic lifestyle that Islam directs us to surrender to.
That's right. Sister Shameli, in the middle of the program, because we got some participants, they posed their questions in both the textual format and the verbal format. I'll be happy if I ask you now one of the questions coming from one of the participants watching us live.
Sure.
She says, we really feel alone in this world. What can we do to get out this feeling? Does dua help? Does supplication help us?
The role of dua in our taking away the feeling of loneliness. Actually, prior to the beginning of this program, I was just a couple of moments. I was thinking about the dua of Komei and all the beautiful meanings that is embedded with this is the dialogue between Imam Ali and his Lord, right?
Yes.
He mentions all his weak points. He mentions where he is, where he's heading. So actually, yes, the dua or the supplications can remind you, even the Quran, as one of the remedies of loneliness. Is the Quran, because it's the kind of reminder to us that we are supposed to be on a specific journey, right? So definitely, but you know, dua and supplications in the Quran they're like vitamins, they're essential, they're vital in understanding, in deepening our perception and understanding life. But at the same time, if we can strengthen our family bonds, if we can strengthen the sense of bond or support system in the communities. I think the Muslims today, at this time, one of the reasons that we feel lonely is because we are so immersed in our own worlds of success. You know, we have defined certain aims and purposes for ourselves, and we're heading only towards them. And we put aside a very important part of our own life, which is community life. This is where a lot of us are lacking. So I think Islam is a systematic religion. If you want to overcome the feeling of loneliness, have all the pieces of puzzle in its proper place. First yourself and God, then your relationship with your family, with your loved sisters and brothers and parents and children, your relationship with your community. There is so much emphasis on neighbors in Islam, right? And then the bigger community, the ummatul wahid, the community gets larger, like the international community, like how we feel for the people of Gaza and how we can support them, right? And supplications in Quran, of course, have their own.
Very good, sister. Especially, we are in the holy month of Ramadan, and we know that there is so much emphasis, for example, on reciting the Holy Quran in congregation, attending congregational salat, or, for example, helping the poor, helping the orphans, sharing your suhoor and iftar with the needy. You know, all these mechanisms of Islam, as you said, Islam is a systematic religion, helps us to be among the ummah, among the people. And by being among the ummah and sharing of what you have with others, automatically will solve the problem and the malady of loneliness. Isn't it true?
It's absolutely true. Actually, the month of Ramadan is a very good cure for loneliness. It's filled with blessings. Why there is so much emphasis on feeding the hungry? Why there is so much emphasis on actually fasting? It's to understand, it's to sympathize, it's to put yourself in the shoes of a hungry person, to understand what's going around in your community, in the world, right? And there is so much emphasis on giving iftar to your loved ones, to your relatives, to your friends. And this is all a sense of understanding that you are a community. So we should be, our fastings should be very purposeful. And
Yes.
it should actually lead us to have a better understanding of why is it that we try to fast for 30 whole days. What is the wisdom behind the month of Ramadan? And
Mhm.
how can it enrich our lives for the
Yes.
days that we have ahead of us in the
Okay.
year?
Okay, thank you very much. We got another question for you. Salaam alaikum. Sister Shameli, thank you for this valuable lecture on this important topic. I'm listening from Australia and benefit a lot from it. My question is positive loneliness only defined as prayer and supplication, or can it also be reading a valuable book, learning something useful, increasing our Islamic knowledge?
Definitely, definitely. Because when you're reading a book, you're lonely, right? It's
Yes,
you and the world that the world is that the book is creating for you. This loneliness could entail any, that for example, in the religion of Islam, increasing your knowledge until the last breath that you can take in this world is considered as reward, right?
yes,
And so anything, and you know that actually loneliness, it's you sitting in a room and just like looking around and like you're saying, okay, I'm lonely, it's positive, I'm gonna have a good intention. No, by this loneliness, you're supposed to enrich your understanding of where you are, right? And about the world, about the existence, right? So
right.
anything, any YouTube clip, any book, any lecture that can broaden your prospect, or that can help you, that you positive solitude or loneliness. So definitely.
That's all right. Sister, at the same time, we see that one of the most important topics which is emphasized in the religion of Islam is self-recognition. I mean, beside God's recognition and recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is very much defined in terms of self-recognition. Through self-recognition, it means a kind of self-contemplation or self-pondering. And I think religion and Islam, as you said, during the holy month of Ramadan can help you, and all its rituals can help you very much in order to get closer to the main source of the power and energy, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this has to take place through a type of self-recognition and not other recognition. Is it right?
Definitely. You know that in many chapters of the Quran, it starts by, well, the self that Islam introduces through the Islamic teachings is very different from the self
Yes.
that the material Western perspective offers to us in
Very good.
psychology or in philosophy, right?
Very
So the
good.
self in the Islamic perspective is in relation with the entire universe, with Allah
Very good.
subhanahu wa ta'ala and the creation, and your purposeful existence in this life. A very good understanding of how Islam defines the self. Let's look at verse number 4 of chapter 57, which says, "Huwa alladhi." First of all, you're nothing. No, this self that you think, wow, it's I deserve everything, you're nothing. The self, the essential self is the self of God. Who is he? Then you define this yourself with the self, with the existence of God, right? And
That's right.
how is it? It's هو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام. This this tiny creature that is not, I mean, the self that we have, that is really insignificant in comparison with the big world of oceans and the galaxies and all the different world. Look at yourself, universe, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it is He who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, then settled on the throne. He knows whatever enters the earth and whatever emerges from it, and whatever descends from the sky and whatever ascends to it. And He's with you wherever you may be. And Allah watches
Very
what you
good.
do. So this is the self that Islam introduces to you.
That's right. That
That you're
Allah subhanahu wa
constant.
ta'ala is very much close to you. I mean, you are never alone, isn't it?
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly. So
that's right.
this vigils, these times of seclusions or solitude, purposeful intended solitude that you have, that Islamic guidelines have guided you through, is to tell you that you are never alone. That first of all, if it's only you minus God, you're nothing. But if it's you plus God, it's
Yes.
everything. You can
Very
you can
good.
become divine. You can reach a stage where everyone in the world would love you, right? You would become someone that no one can imagine. Like you can become godly, right? So
Yes, that's
from
right.
this perspective, all these nightly vigils, all these contemplations in the Quran, all these supplications that we have there to tell you that you are never alone. If you
That's all right.
find your place in the universe, if you find your connection with God, you will flee from this loneliness that modernization has capsulated you into, right?
In fact, you are depending on an entity which is infinite, as I say, and because of that, when you are dependent on that entity, you will never feel alone. But compare it to the modern man who is, for example, dependent on an actor or a singer or something like, or an athlete. Okay, I mean, when you are changing your perspective and viewpoints to a temporary one, on that time you cannot even decide for your future life, let alone, for example, to the other world. That's why every day the modern man will feel lonelier and lonelier than yesterday if he is not or she is not going to find the true source of life, isn't it, sister?
That's absolutely true. One of the reasons or the roots of depression in today's world is because after the Middle Ages, where religion was put aside and humanism replaced religion, all the uh, all the stresses, all the I mean, everything was um, focused on you. If you success, it's because you succeeded. If you fail, it's because you didn't work hard enough. The idea of tawakkul or relying on God is non-existent in the materialistic aspect. So that's why in the modern worldview, if you reach somewhere, if you are successful, they say you did it. Good to you, bravo to you. But if you failed, you didn't work hard enough. You weren't good enough. You weren't powerful enough. So you all the pinpoints, all the highlights, you're under the spotlight. You are to be blamed. But in the divine perspective, you see yourself as a larger plan. That
Yes.
sometimes you say that I'm just part of the picture, and a lot of the things that happened to me, I did my best, but I'm supposed to go through this failure. I'm supposed to go through this very hard life, through this challenge, because I'm being tested and I'm being
Yes.
watched. I'm being
Yes.
supported all the time, right? So
Yes.
then depression really can be solved if someone is really has a monotheistic
Very good.
worldview.
And we have so many examples during the history of the world of the people who, because of an incident or an accident, they felt lonely, even they wanted to commit suicide. But the ray of hope of spirituality and godliness helped them on the last moment. Even most of them converted to the religion of Islam. And now when you talk to them, they say that the peace, the inner peace, and serenity that we have in our soul and heart cannot be defined in comparison to the lives that we have. I mean, depending on the materialistic world.
That's absolutely true. This is because materialism offers you only this world and the
Uh-huh.
ever rules and regulations that exist within the domain of materialism.
Very good.
But religion offers you a much bigger prospect and a much bigger perspective, which is your soul, which is infinite, which is linked, which your soul is blown to you. It's part of the existence of God, right? وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, right?
Very
So
good.
we have so many different instances in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly reminding you that you're never alone. For example, the verse that says, "La tahzan, inna Allaha ma'ana." This is the incident where the prophet was with another person in the cave, and that other person was very frightful that the enemies of Islam would capture them and they would,
Yes.
prosecute them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I'm always with you. Or the verse that says, Inna Allaha ma'alladhina taqaw walladhina hum muhsinun. So
Yes.
this God-wariness is a fruit of your recognition of your place in the world, in this entire universe, of course, linked with the divine existence, right? So
Right.
God doesn't say, like, we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. God has some Ar-Rahman has some general compassion that covers everyone, believers and non-believers, and there's this Rahim,
Yes.
special compassion that includes only specific servants, right? So
Very
here
good.
in this
Okay.
verse, it says that I am specially with you. I'm specially going to support you. God is supporting everyone, regardless of being a believer or non-believer. But that special belief, that special kind of warm touch that warms your heart,
Yes.
that makes you feel that you're never alone. It comes to you only when you have real fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
That's right. This could be seen in the story of Karbala and the events that took place in the year 61 AH. When you look at the words of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and Lady Zainab al-Kubra, you never find them lonely. Although, in compared to the forces of the enemy, there were not many people around Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. But the few companions and ashab of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and Lady Zainab al-Kubra, all of them believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the true sense of the word. That's why you cannot see even one shade of loneliness or cowardice or something like that in the words of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam on that time.
Exactly. This reminds me of the saying of Lady Zainab, where she said, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." You
Yeah.
only saw catastrophe, you only saw bloodshed. She lost her sons, she lost her beloved brother, they being taken captive, going with the caravan from one place to the next, people throwing stones at them, all the calamities that happened. But she sees only beauty.
Yes.
She sees herself, she sees her place in the larger prospect of the universe,
Very
of
good.
her existence and the purpose. Like she didn't see just that time and space and place. She saw the past and the future, the generations of Muslim to come, and the teachings that this incident would would entail for future generations to come, right? So she saw the bigger picture.
Yes.
And I think that pretty much that's a beautiful story.
Very good. That's right. So, I mean, reconnection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or I call it renewal of interaction and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Quran, the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, the holy month of Ramadan, which help us, and again, to strengthen our relation with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All in all, help us to have a better understanding of ourselves, defined in terms of Islamic teachings and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our place, our position in the universe. And day by day, spiritually, we are developed up to an extent that we will never feel alone. Rather, we'll be prepared to continue our life after this temporary materialistic life. Sister Shameli.
That is absolutely true. Again, At the end of the day, loneliness is not that bad of a phenomenon if you
Uh-huh.
look at what it can entail for you. You know,
Yes.
one of the reasons that we fast is to remember the hunger and the thirst that we will experience on the day of judgment,
Very good.
right? And again, sometimes when we are lonely, because of course there are different kinds of loneliness that all of us, even if you are in the best hands, even if you have loving and caring families, and even if you have a very supportive family or a community, in some stages absolutely normal and natural to feel lonely because we're human beings, we're mortal. And being faced with diseases, catastrophes, relationship breakdowns, loss of loved ones, all these are natural
Yes.
phenomena that happen to each and every one of us. And we all do feel lonely in some part of our lives.
Yes.
But I think sometimes these are to trigger the
Yes.
idea or bring attention, these bitter or sorrowful incidents that happen for you sometimes in your life
Yes.
are there
Yes.
to remind you that after all, um, don't connect yourself, don't attach yourself to everyone,
Yes.
the people who are around you. Your family is there, your parents, your
Yes.
children, they're the light of your eyes, they're the love of your heart. But then they're supposed to, even your wealth, you might go bankrupt at some stage of your life.
Yes.
You might lose your health and wealth, but it's all there to tell you that these are just a test. And at the end of the
That's right.
day, you are going to leave this world without anyone, without a penny
That's
in your
right.
pocket, without the support of your loved ones. So accumulate for yourself, pack for yourself what is needed for you in the hereafter. You're going to go there all by yourself. I mean, the day of resurrection is so, as it is narrated in our ahadith, that, for example, a mother who is the source of love and compassion, she leaves her baby behind because
Yeah.
of the fright of that big day, right?
Right.
So, love of loved ones shouldn't distract us
Yes.
from the bigger picture.
That's all right. Thank you very much, Sister Razieh Shameli, for your fruitful discussion regarding loneliness, the malady of modern life, and the Islamic cure to it. It was really a fruitful discussion with you. Thank you very much, Sister.
Thank you very much for inviting me for tonight's lecture. Thank you very much for your very insightful comments and the points that you mentioned. And I hope that these days and nights we would be showered with the infinite blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it
Inshallah.
would help us to fill our hearts with the aura of the divine love.
Inshallah. Thank you very
Take
much, Sister.
away all the loves that we have, I mean, all the material, worldly life, love away from our heart and replace it with the divine love.
Inshallah, inshallah. Thank you very much, sister. And thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, dear viewers, for watching us live on Zoom, presented to you by Noor Online Islamic Center. I am Atta, the host of this program. You have been watching Thaqalain Talks. It was a very fruitful discussion with Sister Razieh Shameli regarding the loneliness, the malady of the modern life, and the Islamic cure to it. For more information on this program and our previous episodes, you can visit our website, thaqalain-course.com. Till another episode and another enjoyable discussion with the presence of another Islamic expert from the Islamic House of Home. Bless you all. Fi aman Allah.